Biden is blasted by a Democratic mayor for predictable border crisis, and he's disconnected from reality. It just blows my mind how disconnected from reality they, or maybe they are, or maybe they do know. Maybe they just don't want to call a spade, because it's uncomfortable, said the Democrat mayor, Mr. Lozana, down in, let's see, where was he at? Del Rio?
Yeah, it was a border town.
Border town. Let me find. I don't want to read the whole article, but it's a town of 35,000 people. And he says, I'm asking to please stop. Please make another plan for this federal issue. The article, there's several different things about this, but there's a lot of pictures that have come out on the crisis. And as I said last week, I was right down on the border, and I talked to some people in some smaller towns. They're not really in a hot spot yet, but they fear that they're going to be, and so this is a crisis. I mean, you do need to call a spade a spade.
But is it a self-made crisis?
Yeah. Remember we talked about this last week?
Yeah.
What's her name? Circleback girl? Yeah, Circleback.
Yeah.
She was saying she didn't want to call it a crisis.
Jen Psaki, it's a challenge. They've been calling it a challenge.
Yeah.
She slipped up and called it a crisis by
now
accident.
Other ones, even in the same Biden camp, are calling it a crisis. The biggest thing I pointed out of there is they're talking about the drug cartel and how bad. I mean, even this Democratic mayor is talking about how bad the drug cartel. Where is it? Anyways,
was helping them.
Their involvement in
Mexico, and that the
getting them up.
organized criminal activity is rising because of that. Case in point.
Yep.
I mean, case in point.
And not just on the border and not on the side of the United States, but the cartels in Mexico.
Yes.
There was just officers, and maybe it was Mexico City, but there were 13 of them, I believe.
Yep.
They were shot
Yep.
and killed. I mean, they were assassinated. This was an actual ambush.
Yep.
Like they did. This wasn't a. They
was
literally
premeditated.
sat and waited in ambush.
Yep.
This is. It's such a snowball effect. I mean, they don't have snowballs in Mexico. I get it, but we do up.
They
in the
did in
north.
Texas.
Well,
I know,
Yeah, right?
I know Project Veritas and Right Side Broadcasting got down there and got some actual video and footage of everything to be able to leak a lot of this information and the pictures and everything out. And, we brought up to even President Biden how he's not even allowing any press to be down there as part of that to cover that. And if that was President Trump, they'd be all over that. Like, why are you not letting us in there? This is the freedom of speech. This is the freedom of the press along with that. And why are they not even allowing that to be covered?
Well, he's going to let press in once he figures out what to do.
But he doesn't know what that plan is yet.
And that was in his
It's
address.
He doesn't know how long
It's
that
a
plan's
challenge.
gonna talk.
Oh yeah,
He doesn't know how
but
long that's going to take yet either.
But
that doesn't mean just because you don't know how to address it doesn't mean you can keep the media out.
And it's not going to go away by doing that. Yeah.
No, people are going to get in, and
That's what I'm saying.
the
That's
truth
freedom
needs
of
to
the
be told.
press. The press, where's our mainstream media throwing a fit? Because that's the freedom of the press. They have the right to cover that. They do. It's the freedom of the press. They have the right to cover that. So,
When we we won't give out the whole meaning behind the name exactly because the we can't say on YouTube, but the idea is my name had to be in it. Let's just be honest. It's my channel. My name had to be in it. We talked about that, right? And so, but the importance of what we're doing is why we're here. And so the name Shh, it matters is that, hey, let's pause a minute. Let's look at this. Push on each other on perspectives and give our thoughts and things like that. That's so crucial, and that's what the media in the United States of America is supposed to do. They're supposed to look at it, listen to what's going on, evaluate it by not opinion, but by what is really happening in reality. And so that's what we're trying to do. Like, shh, pause a minute. It matters. We have to listen to this kind of stuff. We have to go to these small towns and listen to the people who are on the ground, not ignore it. Now, what I want to say leading into that is how when the press did ask Kamala, Vice President Kamala Harris, she cackled and laughed and said that she wasn't going to go down to the border today, right? And and she said, she made the comment that, well, I've been there before. It's
South Padre spring break doesn't count. Sorry. And President Biden just put her in charge. Like he said in his press conference.
Keep that thought. Keep that thought. What I want to lead into with that is they were literally condemning Florida for being open. They condemned Texas for being open. They're literally letting people from another country come here illegally with COVID.
Without testing.
They know, even testing them. Testing them, they've been letting them in. Yep. There's been all kinds of articles that they've caught it. They proved it. They literally knew of 108, I believe it was. And so they're condemning our own people. They're condemning the citizens of the United States for doing what they're doing. And then they allow people to come here illegally with COVID, and they don't care. They don't think it's a problem. That, to me, is scary.
Huge.
I don't care. Right. It's complete hypocrisy. I don't care what political party you belong to. You cannot prop that up. It's completely wrong to me. There's my soapbox. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say in the press conference, and before that, President Biden said that he was going to put Kamala in charge of the.
I don't care if you
of the immigration. Well, I want to give respect where respect's due. It pronounce people's names right. His biggest issue right now is the immigration crisis. Yet he's not taking charge. He's having her. He's putting her in charge. Well, that to me doesn't make sense. If this is the biggest problem in our country, shouldn't you grab the bull by the horns and take care of it? Why are you putting Kamala in charge? I would question that. So.
But remember, they're all coming to our country, Joe said, because he's nice.
Because he's a nice guy.
Because Joe's a nice guy, yeah. Because they want to come to our country because Joe's nice.
Right.
There was a little 9-year-old boy that from Honduras I don't know if Project Veritas or who it was.
Him,
it was a Project Veritas?
Yep, yeah. The mom.
And so the mom at the border of Mexico let this 9-year-old boy. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this and talking about it because I can't even imagine that. It's so bad in Honduras that this mom sends a little 9-year-old kid on his own with this crowd of people to make it to the United States of America because, as it was worded, Papa Joe was going to let him in. Mm-hmm. Now, look, I love people, and we need to help people, but we have to do it the right way. We have to do it a way that's going to actually work. They're predicted to spend, I think it's $86 million on hotels for these people coming across.
Or Fort Bliss, 5,000 beds at Fort Bliss.
Yeah. So, okay, what if we did something with that $86 million
in aid to the country?
Yeah. What if we, I don't know. I don't have the answers per se, but what I mean by this is we can't open things up. These towns of 35,000 people, they're being overrun, literally overrun. I don't know. It's frustrating to me.
I always get a kick out of it. And you're a huge movie buff, but remember the movie Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always think of that. I really do. Have you guys seen the movie Dave? Yeah. Where just simple things that we think of that we could cut. What was it? An example, if you cut $2 million off of this, you got to save the orphanage. And he just, as a human, as a general guy, just did it. You know what I mean? And I think about that movie in today, like, can they take that money and just... It seems like an average Joe, not mean Joe, average person, could be able to do that. And they're just talking about millions and millions of dollars. That just seems crazy.
Well, and going back to the people just coming across the border, I wanted to pull this up. I've got some friends that live in Texas, and they're in northern Texas, and they're trying to distribute these kids everywhere they can away from the border because they don't have the room.
Putting them on buses and stuff. Yeah.
And of course, this is in local news down there, but not anywhere else. Of 3,000 kids that were sent to a convention center in their town, 90 of those kids had MS-13 tattoos.
Oh.
Wow.
How is that not?
Do you have the source that you can say on that or not?
I would have to search it. Yeah. He just made that comment that
I've heard that too.
Out of the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center, 90 of the 3,000 kids had MS-13 tattoo images.
So kind of going back to President Biden's press conference we had yesterday, and we're talking about immigration. One of the things he brought up was when he was senator or vice president and they had problems in other countries with crime and drug cartels, they got light bulbs for the cities. They got lights for the cities. So now that we're having problems with gun, issues and take away your guns, let's just all install more light bulbs and everything else like that he wants to do. Maybe that'll take care of some of the crime we're having. I don't know, in Minneapolis or whatever. Just install a bunch of light bulbs and budget all that for that.
Oh, what?
The name of the convention.
Oh, okay, okay.
But
we're just trying to find a source for the...
Yeah, he brought up that, the reporter brought up that little boy, or the White House reporter brought up that little boy. But talking to the mom, like she said, good time Joe, but President Biden also, as part of that press conference, also said, these kids are being sent back. We're trying to work with the Mexico government. These kids, these under 18 kids are being sent back. But according to all the news releases and news reports, they are not. So who do we believe, President Biden or the news that actually says, no, they're in a conference center and different things like that, and they're being sent all over the United States or north, compared to what he's saying? Because he said they're actually being sent back to Mexico. Under 18, he said that they're actually being sent back.
No, maybe some are, but not very many.
But that's what he said as part of his press conference. People don't realize it. They are being sent back. We don't realize it, but they are being sent back. The majority of them are being sent back. He said that as part of his press conference.
He talked out of both sides of his mouth.
I know.
I mean, he did in his press conference. So,
which just shows you there's a lot of confusion on what's going on, and it'd be nice if they because it's a crisis. Let's just put it out there. It's not a challenge anymore. It's beyond that. It's a crisis. Mm-hmm. Confusing articles, confusing information. Just listening to you guys, because I don't know a whole bunch about this. I will say that. And of course, I always take the emotional approach. We talked about this last week. We're talking about it again. So right there tells me it's more of a challenge. This is the second week in a row we're talking about this. And again, the emotional harmony goes back to that 9-year-old boy whose mother sent him on quite a journey. I can't imagine sending my 16-year-old son on that journey. I can't imagine a 9-year-old. So
I can't imagine taking that journey.
There you go. And so that tells me I always like to go back. I always like to go back and find out what is going on that's so bad that we are having this happen.
That you're risking your child.
What is going on in Honduras, which we all know there's crime and there's drugs and there's gangs and there's poverty. So bad that mothers are sending their 9-year-old children, if not younger, to what they hope is freedom and stability.
On a 1,000-mile trip with complete strangers.
So let's just get the story straight. That's what I'm going to put out there because I am full story, but let's get this figured out. Let's help our people. Let's help these 9-year-old children. And let's, with doing so, in a healthy manner, that we're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with the pandemic. Let's keep us safe.
But we can't help everybody. So we have to decide who and where. We are the country of the United States of America. So where do we draw the line? Are people at home? Are people in Miami? Are people in Texas? Are people with COVID? Are veterans? Are homeless? And then we have a whole other country that they want to help. So where do we draw the line?
Did you guys see the quote that I put up the other day? Do you walk around like a celebrity? You should.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
You are the most important person in your life. Act like it. So that's what we need to do as a country, I believe, too, because if we have an empty bucket, we will not be able to water anybody else. I mean, that's just the reality. If we can't take care of tax-paying citizens, we're not going to have any people to pay taxes. It's just not going to happen. You cannot have one without the other. You can't help people without having a solid economy, having a solid tax base and things like that. And believe me, I am not saying, those of you who are watching and listening, I'm not saying we shouldn't help, but we have to do it the right way. Yeah. It's really, really scary and frustrating. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many things that are disingenuous. My comment yesterday to Harmony, your article, at a very quick search, and it wasn't to offend anybody, but at a very quick search, the Kentucky law is messed up, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody with that kind of mental issue, basically, would have been roaming the streets. It had nothing to do with the person's color.
Right.
But that's so disingenuous. And you know why? They're getting tons of clicks. That little few words gets people's attention. And so what good does that do?
Right.
When you're being disingenuous and you're lying about it, then who do you believe? Yeah. Don't believe us. Go do your research. This is opinion. You know? Yeah. I don't know. Yep. I'm maybe ranting way too much.
Us more than some of the other sources. That's what I'm seeing.
I think my point is that we have to teach people how to think, not what to think. Yeah. And that's the idea, exactly. I guess. Mm-hmm. And not that we need to agree. Anybody else want to? I'm getting worked up about this.
It is. It's a lot.
It's when you're talking about the humanitarian part of it, of these kids being pushed across the border by their parents. Their parents want them to have a better, safer life. How can you not be emotional about that? You know, we all have kids of different ages, and I mean, my daughter's only 4. I know there's younger kids than 9 in those caravans. I as a parent, I couldn't do that. Like you said, Harmony, how bad is it that you're willing to risk your child's life for safety? Because these kids this isn't a walk in the park for these kids. And there's some pretty unhumane things happening to these kids as well.
Very much so.
So what about our forefathers who sent their ancestors over to our country that came through Ellis Island legally? I mean, think about what their countries were like and what they left and abandoned and the families and, you know, heritage and different things like that. But they came to our country legally through Ellis Island. They had sponsors, they had families, they had churches. You know, I mean, what happened to all that?
That's a good question.
What happened to all that?
How do you, let's see if I can pull it up.
Should be 2 L's.
Oh yeah, I see. So keep talking about that.
Well,
don't let me distract you. Okay, remember, I'm not supposed to let you distract me.
You're not supposed to distract us. I mean, what happened to all that? I mean, we all have ancestors that came over to the United States of America for a better life. You know.
Well, and the people that have done the process the proper way, refugees and immigrants coming from other countries, you know, you see their interviews on TV, and they're upset that they've gone through the proper channels, yet here these other people are, walking across the border, not following the procedures. You know, there's people that have worked 10, 15 years to get their citizenship, and they've gone about it the right way, and they're not happy about what's happening either.
And they've learned the American way. I mean, they were taught, they had to take classes, the American way of what is expected out of them. Plus, they adapted to our country to come to our country.
What do you mean by that?
They've adapted. I mean, they left values and maybe language.
Traditions and culture.
Yeah, and culture. You know, when they left their country and now they came to America.
They've assimilated. To a point.
Cohabitated.
I think cohabitated is where it's important, though. I'm not sure. I've had the privilege of visiting a lot of countries. China, one of them. Ireland, Spain, Italy, and it's really cool, the culture, right? Mm-hmm. And so these Chinatowns or whatever, I've never been to one, but I hear about them. I mean, it sounds kind of cool, like right here in the United States. It's kind of a cool thing. What I think, in my opinion, that we need to look at is not that they need to necessarily assimilate across the board. That's why we were a country. I mean, so that you could come in here and kind of do your thing, as long as you left everybody alone, essentially, and you didn't disrupt what was happening.
Don't hinder on others' rights.
Right, exactly. You don't hinder on others' rights. And so I don't want to lose that culture. I mean,
St. Patty's Day, I mean, really.
Language. I think we need to assimilate language, you know, and some of those other things. That's really important. But I guess I'm not really on board with just, you have to do it our way. I mean, to a point, there has to be kind of a balance or a border. I think we lost internet for a second there, but sorry, I think we lost internet for a second, everybody. But the thing for me on that is that you have to respect the boundaries of what our Constitution is.
Right.
Yes.
That's the difference.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
This is the boundaries of our Constitution.
Right. Don't leave your culture at the border. Bring that in and share that with us, but you also have to follow the values of our Constitution and follow our laws and be productive people for our society, and not just.
I agree. And what I was going to say is, going back again to my days of being a nanny, I think that's what makes America so beautiful.
Absolutely.
I never would have been able to experience the Jewish culture or the Scottish culture. I was so fortunate to work for families of that, of those nationalities, and I learned so much. And, it's wonderful to be able to, even still years later, to think not only the things that I learned, but maybe recipes or traditions. And it's a beautiful thing. I think it was very, it worked out well. I helped the children, as Martha May was talking about, with American customs and holidays and things like that. But at the same time, they taught me about Boxing Day and things like that. So I think it's a beautiful thing when we can all come together and just enjoy each other and each other's traditions and cultures.
Yeah, I agree.
I had an opportunity to go to I hope I have the right term. It's a religion based in India. I think it's Sikh, where they have the turbans. Not joking about that. It's a small religion in India. There's a lot of medical professionals in Rochester that have this religion, and there's a small group that they made at one of the churches bi-weekly.
Craig, we made a rule last week. No hitting the table.
But but it was hands on your sit on your hands.
No, not that bad. But it disrupts watching things back and listening back. It disrupts the cameras and the mics. Yeah, and so
okay,
that's
sorry guys.
Sorry,
but it was
Craig missed last week. So.
Yeah,
I have 2 rules. What are my 2 rules now?
Don't hit the table.
And no swearing.
And no swearing, because we don't want to get booted off.
Oh man, that's a lot of work.
We'll get booted off for other reasons.
We'll get booted off for our commentary on things, not for swearing.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a neat experience. It was a culture that I had never been exposed to, and here I had the opportunity to go to a wedding, and it was really eye opening. It was cool to listen to their views on the world and how they live their lives and how open they were. And they said, if you ever just want our type of food, come every other week, and you're welcome to sit down and break bread with us. And that was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that was really cool.
I have the opportunity. I love what I do, and as you know, I'm not going to talk about it on the air, but I'm waiting for that opportunity with the Department of Transportation. And the thing for me is, I get on average, I'm in about 5 or 6 lifts every week. I 3 to 4 hotels every week. 3 to 5 airplanes every week. I get exposure to all types of people, and that's so important. And we need to have more of that, not less of that. And we need to have more of the conversations. I had 2 amazing conversations, very different conversations yesterday, but equally incredible. Just because, who they are, who I was, and how open they were to converse. It was amazing, completely incredible. And that is so missing right now. And we talk about the critical race theory stuff and identity politics and all these things. Let's find out what we have in common and just stop all that garbage with it. Mm-hmm. It's not we can each have our religion. We can each have our what we have political views on. We can each have that, but we can each have dinner, like you say. We just have to do that. I don't know.
Sit down together and break bread.
We can't. We have to, as people, we have to stop trying to conquer the other side.
And
no matter, respect the other side equally. Because there's good ideas. If you sit down and talk about it, you navigate through it. There's good ideas in everything, as long as it's not an evil intent.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. But. We ready to talk about Goose Creek? Hey, I got a couple of a couple of messages here, and if you're watching currently, no, I will not say your name if you send me a comment. And certainly at the end of the show or towards the end of the show, we'll probably read some of the comments. We'll see. But,
unless you want us to say your name, right? No.
Yeah, maybe you could say that in there. That like, hey, yeah, you could say my name. That's fine. But the thing, you know, I'm going to look at the camera right now, and I'm going to ask you to do us a favor. We are not sponsored by anybody. We're here to volunteer. We made a 6-month commitment to each other. I'm just going to be real transparent on that, in that we said we're going to do this for 6 months, see how it goes, see if there's interest. What I did realize in the last probably 10 to 15 days is I sent people a lot of messages, and a lot of people have not even heard about this show yet. Now, I want to say it in this respect. I have over 100,000 hits on just my Facebook page alone, and people aren't seeing these videos. I don't know why that is, but it's up to you to share it, to like it, to comment on it. That helps the algorithms, and that helps us out. And if you share it, I understand your name is out there and things like that. And sometimes we talk about political things. Sometimes I rant like crazy like I just did. But that really does help us. That really is important. And as I say, hammer the like button, hammer the share button, and go to my videos and watch that hammer video. It's really corny, like me.
So don't touch this, definitely touch it.
Yes, exactly. But you are important to us, so we thank you for watching, and we thank you for hitting the share button and like button and all that.
Hey, a lot of people have asked how they can support the work we're doing here at Matt Logan Speaks. Well, you see this hammer that I got in my hand? It's pretty big. All you have to do is hammer the share button. Go ahead and hammer out a comment to us. Go ahead and hammer the like button. Go ahead and hammer the subscription button. Go ahead and hammer the notification bell so that when we have new content up, you're the first to know about it. We really appreciate the comments, shares, likes, because you know what? That's the best way you can support us, because the algorithms on all these fancy computers, that's what they need. We appreciate it.